thinks the Bible is just some simple book, just does not understand the level of depth that is actually written in. And that's what God's saying, that when you're not saved, you can't understand it because you would read the stories or look at it and you're just looking at the surface level. But if you're able to really dive deep into it and line it up with what people are so into, the science of things, you can realize it's written in such a deep way that it's such a deep well. To unlock it would take years and years and years and years. And like, yes, it's a very simplistic book at the basis of how to be saved. But then after that, to break down each story and the symbolism and all the things, you could study it your whole life and never get to the bottom of it because of what is in there. And I think it's a mistake. People just think, oh, these stories are so silly or they're so simplistic or whatever, but they're not. And that's part of the genius of it, and the genius of God is that it appears to be one thing, but is so much more of this other thing. But you can't see this other thing unless you're able to grasp the simplicity of it. It's like they go together. You can't have one without the other. You can't be the biblical scholar. That's where they screw up, because they can't see the simple part of salvation. And the people that are super simple, that just see, oh, these are just silly stories and this person just did this and that. It's not, they're just missing the depth that it goes into. Hopefully that makes sense.
Example?
And just, there's so many examples, and I guess I would have to really sit down and
What were they saying that triggered you to tell me that?
What's that?
What were you listening to that triggered you to think that and tell me that? You was
just listening to them break down. They're talking about the whore. They're talking about Revelation and the whore and the cup of her fornication and what all that represents. And then when you look in our society, you see it, and you see everything playing out exactly as the Bible says it. Now, people might read Revelation and they're like, a whore sits on a beast in her cup, and what is all this stupid stuff? Like, this makes no sense. This is obviously fake. It's obviously made up, and it would confuse people. It's 404. It would confuse people because they don't get it. Like, it just doesn't make logical sense to them, so it just gets dismissed. But as they're breaking it down, he's showing how Revelation is about the end of the world, and we look in our society that's breaking down, and especially in America as it's breaking down, and what do we see? This movement of women being sexually free and being like commoditized, basically. Not all women, but a lot of women, and I've noticed this on Instagram alone, it's just these women are overly sexualized and talking about the most perverted things as if they are just talking about the weather. They will go into, I'll do this, I'll do that, and at the surface level, men would be like, wow, this is great, because we as men, for whatever reason, we crave that. But we crave that in an intimate relationship with our wife. But then when you get to peek behind the door that you're not supposed to ever peek behind, it can grab your attention and suck you in. But then what the other side of that happens is, and I'm drawing a blank on where it goes to, but it basically, once that starts happening, it shows that there's weak men. There isn't men that are standing up to women and saying, you know what, this is wrong. You are not supposed to be talking about these things. And it isn't a control thing. It isn't about oppressing women. It's about, you're only supposed to have that between one other person, you and your husband. You and your husband should be having those discussions and fun time and all that. And then it's beautiful, and then it's enrichment and depth and joy and all these other things. But for her to be sharing it with whoever comes across her page on the internet, yay, possibly millions of people, and then also charging men for it. I mean, there's women on OnlyFans that are making multiple women making $1 million a month, commoditizing their sexuality and their sexual liberation and freedom. And God knows what they're doing on there. Unfortunately, I'm not interested in that.
I understand. It goes well with Revelation. Somebody's calling.
About how, like in Japan, and even what?
Someone calling.
I know. I'll call them right back. Just don't. You don't have to answer it. It's weird that it rings to that phone.
In Japan.
And even I see like Flip, which is my son, and he was raised saved, and we've taught him to abstain from that. And possibly he is struggling, and I just don't see his struggle. But I just know if I look like him and had the things that he has, I would really be struggling in this time with that. Like, I really struggled. I didn't think it was wrong to be having sex outside of marriage, but I really struggled, just like that was on my mind, and it really drove me through life at his age. Even at Ari's age, like 13, 14, I can remember just like that was always on my mind. I could be, and I didn't have the magazines, or we didn't have the internet the way that it is, but it was definitely one of those things where it was above and beyond what could be considered normal for what I was just like laser focused on it. And there was no getting my mind off of it. It was something that I leaned into, on and on and on. But I don't see them have that same struggle. It's like they've almost foregone it. Like that, I'm not even interested in that. Now, he might be lying to me, and he might be doing whatever he's doing behind closed doors and that, but it just doesn't seem the same. And that's also what it says in there is like, and I forget how he words it and what they were getting into, because it was just happening, but just lots of men, more than ever, people in general are not having sex. I think it's like a huge amount of the population haven't had sex in the last year, because it's like, because things have gone so extreme one way, it's caused this ripple effect the other way. Mm-hmm. And then the Bible predicts that. The Bible shows that. The Bible, even thousands of years ago, when these stories were written, on the surface, you just think, oh, it's about a woman on a scarlet beast with the cup of her fornication and da-da-da-da-da-da. But, and it's even written, Revelation being, it's the end of the world. And here we are, and everybody's thinking it's the end of the world, and what's playing out? This exact scenario in our society. And it's also so many empires and societies have fallen in the same pattern of this. They became enriched, they became arrogant, then the sexual sins and the sexual, like everything became hypersexualized, and then that empire fell. You know, the last one was Rome. Rome was conquered the world and was this big empire and set so many standards and democracy and all this stuff, but then they also really got into men being with boys and all kinds of homosexuality being all right, and this great empire fell. And we look at our society now today, and the same things are going on. That
I think ours called the toilet.